Once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, there was a gender-neutral heavenly being who came to a strong, independent woman named Mary to tell her she was going to have a child given unto her from the non-specific higher power. As she was raising the child alone, being a single mom, she broke cultural barriers and decided to do it anyway. Joseph, her fiancé, who was planning on breaking up with her over her inability to stay faithful with him, was given a dream by the non-specific higher power, who told him to stay with her and take care of the child, becoming a blended family. Because of the corrupt tax system that allowed the rich to get richer, Mary and Joseph had to travel back to their homeland Bethlehem in order to pay their taxes, which went towards causes that they didn't support. Please note that Mary did not ride on the back of an animal because that would be abusive and cruel. Once they arrived, Mary went into labor. Being a lower-class Middle Eastern couple, they had very little privilege wherever they went, and ultimately ended up begging to stay in a hotel that was too full, aka racist, to let them stay. So Mary had to have her child in an animal stable out back, being that the Bethlehem healthcare system wasn't established enough to get the proper medical help. Far away in another country, there were 3 wise women, although their gender doesn't matter, who were so smart, they didn't need to ask why there was a giant star in the sky. They set out to follow the star, not needing any direction, because after all, their gender was female. They brought with them perfectly wrapped gifts, picked especially for a baby king, knowing exactly what would be culturally appropriate and mommy approved. So they started their journey, which took several years to make. Meanwhile, in a field somewhere in the Middle East, there were 2 blue-collar workers who were probably loathing while supposedly watching sheep. While they were supposedly doing their jobs, a multitude of gender-neutral heavenly beings appeared to them in the sky, singing a heavenly song, telling the young boys to do something with their life and go to Bethlehem, for a child had been born. Upon arrival, the shepherd boys bowed down and worshipped the generic higher power, and the baby, showing the cultural respect and tolerance for what they expected was to be the next great political figure for a real change. Many years later, the 3 wise women finally arrived and gave their now toddler the organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan gift that they had picked out. Mary approved, and they all had brunch. Now there was an angry, rich, white anti-globalist ruler who owned too much property and thought too much of himself, who didn't like that one who was called the king had been born. So he surpassed the legal process in the land and signed an executive order to have all the boys in the land murdered in order to prevent someone else from the other side of the political aisle to become a ruler of the land. Mary and Joseph were among those who had to relocate based on the tyrant communists' evil executive order. So Mary and Joseph then fled Egypt. The child grew and was never spanked or talked down to. He was educated and stayed in school, so he was perfect and complete exactly as all citizens should be. Claiming his authority directly from a generic higher power, he was a political leader like no one had ever seen. He called out the political elites and brought the poor into the spotlight, so as to get the attention they deserved. Once he accomplished his political feats, he was murdered so that his legacy would live on in the hearts of those who would take up his cause.